while we have 10 minutes, there are also a few questions that have been sent by some of the attendees. But let me actually, ask one question to Umang, perhaps here. Umang, do you see this as an interesting opportunity for brand building? And especially, how are you seeing online brands behave differently than the incumbent offline brands, especially in apparel and some of the more food and some of the more traditional consumption sectors?
It's kind of interesting what we're seeing starting June. There's this whole lives versus livelihood thing, and then there's this whole thing that Tarun mentioned that I don't want to be on the street. However, if you look at the reflection of the traffic and the number of people out there, we are clearly in unlock 2.0 in my mind. And suddenly there is this
for good or bad.
For good or bad, we can debate that, and we can debate whether the numbers are also actual or not. But what we are seeing happen in June is an interesting comeback. And when I spoke to you last, Madhur, I said the brand comeback would be a U-curve recovery. We're beginning to see a little bit of a flattening of that U towards a little bit of a V, where brands just want to get out there and say, hey, I'm open, right? I'm open for business, walk in now. So it's interesting that there's a lot of that communication that has started, and there's also, brands have got their budgets held up, right? Now, if you think from a brand manager's perspective, let's take a brand manager in any of the brands we're managing. If he or she doesn't spend his or her budget in a finite period of time, we take it away, right? I mean, Ritesh and Dharmil are not going to just give them infinite dollars, right? Nor am I. So what we're seeing happen with both the brick and mortar is that when they're opening up, they're sending messages out. We're seeing that happen. Online is a little different. Pure online brands, I think, again, is sector specific, right? So if you think about a need-based sector like spectacles or medicine or that has been consistent all the way through, though there's still more performance-oriented clients versus brand. But I think overall, the market is picking back up, and the ultimate beneficiary is digital, because when you have a limited dollar, you don't want to do a TV campaign. It's going to cost you creative. You don't want to do print where the circulation is down. And so it's moving more and more onto digital. That's an interesting trend that we're seeing, Madhur.
Interesting. And one more topic I think we did not touch as much upon was around adjacencies. And we heard a lot of interesting news, Dunzo starting to do something else, Zomato starting to do something else, and also having pulled back already. So my question to Ritesh and Dharmil together, are you guys, is it really about focus, or is it really about, seeding new things because some of the spaces or some of the opportunities, seeming too virgin? And given that you have a large customer base, would you not want to sort of partner with, other providers like yourself, complementary service providers, in fact, to monetize more and serve your customers more deeply? So what's your thought, coming from two very different angles?
Businesses who are badly hit, I think definitely people will start looking at new avenues. So that's a good thing to do, but I doubt, they'll be able to displace or, sort of capture large proportions of market share. But definitely, people will have to look at new avenues of growth and looking at the business. For us, we are trying to integrate into, multiple channels, like I said, and which seems to be a new way of looking at customer base for us. So we are open to, such integrations, partnerships, whatever you may call it. But yeah, I think people will, try and do multiple things till they get a stable hand at, growth in their particular business.
Got it. Ritesh, any sense on how you are monetizing your sort of very deep and direct organic customer base? That you're, I think, in a very unique position, across the whole startup ecosystem. You own the channel and you own the supply, right? Which is quite phenomenal. So anything that you are doing to monetize assets, customers, properties?
So Madhur, from our perspective, the way we are thinking about our bandwidth and our capital is to sort of take a view of saying 2 years from now, what are our businesses and geographies that we believe are absolute winners, and we are sort of doubling down there with a view of saying that how do you make sure that you create clearly well organized winners in terms of consumer preference, partner preference, and so on and so forth. So from our perspective, we've always tried to be longer term in terms of our investments, and we continue to think of it that way at this point of time, especially because like Darshil was also saying, I think if we start a business for the time being, I mean, if maybe it's valuable for 3 months or 6 months, at the end of the day, do we believe we will become the number one grocery player in the country? I think the amount of capital and time it takes is way too much, and I would rather double down on things I know very well. So I understand some businesses, I understand a bunch of geographies where you've done well, and we'll double down. But that said, monetizing and being able to create long-term consumer and partner franchise are areas which are very interesting for us. So for instance, we have during this period of COVID, in the fight towards COVID, have played a big role in helping the challenge. So for instance, Vande Bharat, which is probably one of the biggest global repatriation programs in India, and similar program in Philippines, where Filipinos from across the world have been brought back in a repatriation program. We've turned out to be the biggest providers of service in that segment, and I would hazard a guess something like 30-40% of the people landing in planes have chosen to stay at OYO hotels, or probably 30 embassies and their audiences have chosen to stay here. So we are generating long-term goodwill from people who were truly in tough in the US. I think the White House in probably 3 different briefings shared about OYO being the first company serving the frontliners. So we tried to do everything we could to serve our audiences in this time. For our partners, increasingly we are seeing some interesting reasons of usage, right from, we partnered Apollo for becoming like a Suraksha Kavach, wherein people who were asymptomatic but in tracing and tracking were potential people, we specifically demarcated some hotels for them. Or for instance, we are seeing storage as a place where some of our basements are being used for some of those requirements. So I think those would be some of the short-term asset monetization benefits that we provide for our partners, and short-term consumer-based benefits in these times, very similar to what brands had done during SARS, MERS, and others. But our medium to long-term focus remains coming out as one of the best preferences for our consumers and partners in the accommodation space, short, medium, long term. That's sort of our, like Tarun was saying, times like these bring clarity, and I think we understand that that's the segment we understand best, and we want to continue going deeper there.
Interesting. So just to cap it up, one last question to Tarun. Tarun, as you're looking at your deal flow, so are there interesting linear startups coming your way with a very different cash profile, margin profile, unit economics profile rather, capital efficiency, the thesis of not getting to 100x scale in 5 years, but maybe 10x in 3 years, but in a manner which conserves cash? Like, are you seeing new opportunities, new investment opportunities emerge out of this in any way? Or, are the sectors and the spaces broadly the same what they used to be?
We have a saying in VC that companies are profitable until a VC invests and they start losing money. Right? In the last quarter, I know one, I think definitely there's probably 2. Forget unit economics profitable. These are EBITDA generating companies that are coming up for financing, and post funding they've stayed that way, which is a great sign. With actually very good month-on-month growth. Some of them even through the crisis. But we've actually had companies that have swung the other way. Companies that were making a very thin contribution, like I mentioned earlier, contribution margins expanded. They've actually swung all the other way and now actually are generating free cash flow and EBITDA every month. And so, like I said, I think it's possible. It is much more about flipping that switch, rewiring your brain, and saying, this is what we are all going to go towards. We've seen companies that are very badly hit, right? To the point that Ritesh made earlier, whether it's travel, whether it's tourism, whether it's mobility, there are companies which are scaled up players where they have completely re-architected their cost structure to say, hey, if it required earlier for me to hit X scale to get to a positive EBITDA, I have re-engineered my cost structure such that I will get to that same EBITDA positive margin at 1/3 or 1/5 of that scale. Which is just a fundamental sort of, like I said, so you're re-architecting your entire sort of P&L to able to get there. And so I think honestly, it's been a great. I mean, I think Aryaman spoke about not having discussions around unit economics and mostly around growth, till some time back. I mean, in board meetings today, the discussion always used to be around growth and this and that. We're actually starting to use the word EBITDA and free cash flow and contribution a lot more than we ever used to.